Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Clapp, Director of Content for WorkinSports.com, and this is Facebook Live, coming to you live. Every week, we try to do this show. Now, I have to be completely clear with you. Last Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, I canceled. I don't like to do that, but I did because I was sick. I didn't have a voice. There was bad things going on. And if I spent the entire time swallowing cough drops and drinking water like this, wouldn't have been a very exciting show. So I tried to keep that from happening last week. I canceled it. I do apologize, but I'm back this week and I'm excited to be here with all of you. When you come into the show, it's great if you introduce yourself in the comments. Let us know where you're listening from. It's great for me to get to know the people that are coming back often. I feel like I've already built quite a rapport with a lot of you. A lot of you have continued the conversation afterwards, had follow-up questions in future days, and I like that interaction. So please share where you're listening from. It's a great way for me to get to know you just as well as you get to know me. And that's the whole reason that I'm doing these sessions. I am the Director of Content for WorkinSports.com. I've worked in the sports industry for 20 years now, in the broadcast media predominantly at CNN Sports Illustrated and Fox Sports Northwest. And then for the last 6 years at WorkinSports.com, creating all of our content geared towards helping all of you. Hi, Becky. Geared towards helping all of you get your career going in the direction you want it to. You know, I'm trying to share the advice that I've found and learned over my entire career. Ryan, Super Bowl champions, greatest Super Bowl ever, right? Okay, maybe not. Robert, good to have you here. And the Steelers didn't make the Super Bowl. I am really sorry about that. Misha, nice to meet you. New to the podcast. My name is Jamisha Cobb, listening from Tallahassee, Florida. Awesome to have you here. Thank you so much. The reason I was saying is that I've been working in the industry. Kevin, good to see you again. This is exactly why I like you guys to share the comments and let me know you're here, because a lot of you I've gotten to know a little bit. A lot of you I've seen here before. Jennifer, you got to add a picture of your Facebook profile. We're going to work on that. Personality matters. Okay. Kevin always gives me an update on whether or not my microphone is working, which is good because I'm very nervous about that. It's one of my paranoias. So Kevin, I'm waiting for your update to let me know that you can hear me. I'm imagining you can, which is always very helpful. But the reason that I do this and the reason that we do this at WorkinSports.com is because we are the leading job board for the sports industry, right? So we have 10,000 jobs on our site, plus even more than that, internships, everything. We're constantly working on cool features to, Jennifer said something, and long story short. Okay. Long, short story. Okay, good. You don't have to pitch your picture. I was just kidding anyway. That's totally up to you. Sounding good, buddy. Thank you, Kevin, for the update. Appreciate that. As you come into the group, please let me know where you're listening from. Love to have that level of interaction. Love to know where you guys are listening from. Like I was trying to say, WorkinSports.com is a leading job board for the sports industry. We have over 10,000 jobs, and we're always working on new features to make it easier for you to connect with the employers out there that are hiring and for the employers to find you. So we're working on some really cool stuff here that I will tell you more about in the coming months, probably. I'm Ron Burgundy. But then I also will add, good to see you, Glenn. Thanks for being here. I know I just read that about Frank Robinson, RIP Frank Robinson. That's tragic, man. I'm getting old. I will share with everyone that, I see. I'm going to say, come back to that later, Robert. A lot of people tell us they get confused on the whole idea of paying for a job board, a premium membership. I've explained that in the past, and I'm willing to have that conversation with anybody at any time. Because there's a good reason for it and actually benefits you. But let's have that conversation at some point, and feel free to reach out to me on that. But the reason I wanted to talk about that is to transition to this. We have an incredible discount for any of you that are students out there. If you have a .edu website email address, you can sign up through workinsports.com/students, because we try to give a great advantage to all the students out there, because we know you don't have tons of cash flow. That's just the way it works. So if you go to workinsports.com/students, you sign up for the site through that portal with a .edu email address, you'll get a 6-month membership for just $30. And while I'm not a math major, that works out to $5 a month, which is really good for access to a lot of incredible jobs. Dana, nice to meet you. Good to have you here. So let's get into our topic a little bit today. I'll briefly tell you too, is that on our site, we have a lot of sports career resources that aren't paid. They're totally free. Jeff, good to see you as well. Always good to see you, Jeff. Sorry if I'm not as interactive tonight, writing up scouting reports for our draft guide. Every once in a while, I'm going to quiz you on who you are writing about. I want to know. So tell us in the comments who you're scouting right now. Jeff does a lot of scouting for the NFL, like college scouting. So if you want to tell us who you're scouting right now, I'd be interested. Because I'm a dork and I'm a Patriots fan. So tell me who they're going to draft. A little early for that. But let's get one quick point before we get into tonight's subject. And if you notice me looking around everywhere, it's because I'm the one that's pushing up all the comments. I got my mic, I got my camera, I got my other equipment. I'm looking down here to see what you guys are saying. So it's not that I'm breaking eye contact with you. I try very hard to keep my eyes on you, but I got to look around a little bit. On our site, there are tons of resources that are 100% free as well. Our podcast, the Work in Sports Podcast, which I host. We have Monday episodes that are Q&A sessions that answer your fan questions. We have Wednesday episodes with experts in the industry. I just finished publishing Trip Keister, who's the single A manager of the Potomac Nationals. Really cool interview because Trip, while he's a manager in professional sports, he doesn't care that much about the X's and O's. He cares about developing the players in the Nationals way and in the right way. And I really, really enjoyed that interview. So if you haven't listened to it, you really should. Robert and Jeff, you guys should talk. How do I get into scouting? I know you meant scouting, Robert. See, it happens to me all the time too. I try to type too fast. And there's the correction. Good follow-up, Robert. Okay, so a lot of sports career advice resources out there. In addition to the podcast, there are literally hundreds of articles that I've written on just about everything out there in the sports industry. We also have a private Facebook group for the Work in Sports Podcast. If you go on to Facebook and search for the Work in Sports Podcast, you can join in that group. You have to answer a couple quick questions just so you're not trying to, ruin the group, or you're a robot, or I just want to know you're human, right? And then you actually are connected to the sports industry and aren't going to try to sell me or all of our fans something that we don't want, because that has unfortunately happened. But the reason I bring all this up is because today I posted on actually, I didn't post. Somebody posted a question on our Facebook group, and it started an interesting dialogue. And what they posted about, I was going to talk about something totally different tonight, but we're talking LinkedIn. And here's why. I posted on I didn't post. Somebody posted on our site, on our Facebook group, should I use LinkedIn? Is it worth my time and effort? And the first, I saw it and I was like, no brainer to me. And the first 3 responses were like, nope, complete waste of time. Nope, it's completely overrated. And I sat there and I was like, oh my God, I've failed all of you. I've failed you because I haven't taught you anything. I've obviously bypassed all the most important things that we should be talking about, because LinkedIn is the easiest and most powerful and free tool that you should be using for your career. So let's talk about why and how, because again, I failed you and I don't want to fail you anymore. So you must leverage LinkedIn, period. Very, very important. Gary, I will stop my conversation anytime to say hi to Gary. Hi, Gary. You must leverage LinkedIn. Why? Let's get into the basics first. Okay. I do have notes because I don't want to quote you any wrong statistics, and I don't memorize statistics unless they tend to be sports. Those I remember quite well. Why are you going to go on LinkedIn? Well, because of all the social networks, this is the professional, business-oriented social network. It is where the smart people that want business conversations hang out. It is where recruiters hang out. It is where people check on you and see who you are and try to learn a little bit more about you. Gary, no problem. What you don't see on LinkedIn are people stalking their ex-boyfriend, or sharing political memes or cat videos. It's all very focused, industry related. The conversation is at a higher level. And that's an important thing to be around. Those people that are on LinkedIn are tending to be intelligent and the decision makers, and I'll prove it to you. They have well over 500 million users. Now I'm cheating. I'm looking on my sheets. LinkedIn has well over 500 million users, but who cares about that? I don't care about 500 million users. I want the right users. So this is the most important part. 61 million LinkedIn users are senior level influencers, and 40 million are in decision-making positions. And it is the most used platform amongst Fortune 500 companies. Now, here's the other point. Every single recruiter, HR manager, hiring manager will go to LinkedIn to learn more about you. I use LinkedIn daily to find guests for my podcast. And I'm not saying that's what you would use it for, but you need to have, see, I'm so easily distracted. The cat videos are awesome. Kevin, you're right. And Jeff is studying Michael O'Connor, QB for British Columbia, 6'5", 230, big boy. Okay, I'll get a, Glenn. Okay, let's share this real quick, and then I'll get back into this. You told us about LinkedIn a few podcasts ago, and my LinkedIn network has grown immensely. I'm now communicating with former Major League Baseball players, GMs, coaches, and more. I have a few great stories for you within the last week. That's what I'm talking about, people. Thank you, Glenn. I haven't even made my point yet, and you already kind of dropped the mic for me, but let's keep going through the details. And I talk with my hands a lot, so I apologize. And this is water with a little bit of vodka. So why are you on LinkedIn? Why should you be on LinkedIn? It is where people forge connections because that's the intent of the network. People go there to meet and network and talk to other people and to research and get information and see what's going on there in the industry. And that's the kind of place you want to be. So let's talk about the first thing you want to do. Robert, I'm sorry. I get distracted. I'm not going to lie. Right. Okay. Sorry. That's what he's asking about with scouting. Sorry. I'll let you guys handle that conversation with each other. I got to start directed there for a second. Okay. Update your darn profile. Here's what I mean. Oh, I just kicked my camera. Your profile page, and this is the obvious stuff. We're going to get into the deeper stuff in a second. Your profile page is your three-dimensional resume, right? If you listened to our podcast a couple weeks ago with Maylin Vu, who's a talent acquisition director for the Cleveland Indians, she talked about how resumes are two-dimensional. It's a piece of paper. I don't really get a feeling for you. But I have to interpret, this is her talking, not me. She had to interpret that information and try to build a three-dimensional picture of you, but it's two-dimensional. Your LinkedIn profile is more three-dimensional. You have a chance in there to tell a little bit more of a story. You have a chance in there to do more than just copy and paste your resume. You can start to tell a story that explains how you can affect somebody else's business. It's almost like the meshing of a cover letter and a resume in one spot. You can upload pictures. You can put in blog posts. You can display videos. You can do all. You can show references, referrals, who else you're connected to. I tell you, if I get a connection request from somebody and I look at their profile and I see, oh, you know this person, I know this person, that speaks volumes for you. So the more you start to build your network, and we're going to get into that, the more your LinkedIn profile can be your living document. You can get in and change it at any time, but you can update information. It powers you. And I guarantee you, every single HR hiring and manager involved in any of that process, whether they're in HR or talent acquisition, or they're just a department head who's going to be interviewing you, they're going to look there. Add your picture, add all the fields, get all the content updated, and sell yourself. Now, after you get your darn profile done, this is where you start to network. Now, I had a whole session before, one of our early Facebook Live sessions. And one of the main things I talked about was social media networking. That was pretty much the entire topic. Hey, Randy, let's stop for a second. Randy, why haven't I seen these live streams before? Appreciate the tips. Randy, good to have you here. We do this every Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So come back anytime. And after I do my session, I guess you could say, over the next 15-ish minutes, I will open it up for all of your questions, all your sports career related questions. So stick around, Randy. It's going to be worth it for you. I just put your comment up again. Okay. Network like crazy. Here's what we're talking about. One of the hardest things to do, I think, is networking with people face to face, going to events, going to conferences, going to all those things where you're going to have to meet and kind of socialize with people and all that. I think that's tough. You're going to do it, but it's still kind of tough. You can use a tool like LinkedIn. And again, I remind you, when I was first coming up in the industry, we didn't have this. I couldn't contact hiring managers. I couldn't look for people that worked. I couldn't isolate and say, hey, who works for the New York Mets? Oh, all these people. And now I can connect with them and have a conversation. I couldn't do that before. You can, so you have to. So now you have to look at it like a networking tool. And you have to break this down into zones. What I like to tell people is zone 1 of your network are like the people that are super close to you. Start with family. This is easy, the lowest hanging fruit. Family connections. Who do they know? Your professors, the people that you've interacted with a good deal. There's a very low chance of you not being able to connect with them and build your network. So get all those people in your LinkedIn. Make sure you're connected to those people, because then you are essentially connected to all of their people too. So start there, build that way. Zone 2 are the people you have met at some point, conferences, events, anyone you've met at anything really, where you've met them before. Maybe you've had a little conversation with them, then bring them into the fold too. All right. Every connection, and I'll wait on that for a second. Zone 3 is where it's all the people you have a loose connection with. So it may be somebody that you have a reason to connect with them. This is where you get a little creative. Let's start with that. Okay. You have a reason to connect with them. There's something that bonds you too, but maybe they don't know it yet, and maybe you need to explain it. And here are some examples of that. Maybe they're an alumni from your school program, and you want to connect with them because they're working in the industry and you have this connection of them being an alumni. Maybe you listen to the Work in Sports podcast and you listen to me interview Maylin Vu, and you're like, that's somebody I really want to connect with. There are all kinds of ideas here. I wrote down a bunch. Give me a second. Network like right. Speakers at panels. So you went to a conference. Right? You go to a conference, somebody's speaking on a panel. You don't know them. They're not in your zone 2. You didn't really talk to them, but you were there and you have something you can sell them on why there should be a connection. So what you do now is you add a note. Whenever you're connecting with somebody on LinkedIn, you can add a note, and you can say in there, hey, I'm Gary. I'm going to use Gary. You can say, hey, I'm Gary. I was at the Sports Industry Networking Conference, heard you speaking, really loved what you had to say. I had one follow-up question for you. Could we connect? Or you say, hey, Maylin Vu, I listened to you on the Work in Sports podcast. I really loved when you talked about the tips for phone interviews. Would love to connect and continue a dialogue. I mean, it's really so easy to have a reason and to build that connectivity. I have now 7,000 people, I think, in my LinkedIn network. And every day I'm getting questions from people. A lot of them are maybe you that are listening right now, but every day I'm getting people that are asking me questions, or they're telling me about an event, or I'm connecting with them for a reason and saying, hey, I'd love to have you as a guest on the podcast. Here's what we do. Let me know if you're interested, and starting that dialogue. It's really important and a great way to build your network. After you build that network, after you get those connections, let's talk to the next part. This is the big mistake people make. And this also happens to me daily. Someone will request to connect with me, and I'll usually look at their profile. And if they have something sports connected, I'll accept. I don't have to know them. If they're in my industry, I will connect with them. It's totally worth it to me. Or if they're a student and they're curious, or they add a note and they say, here's why I want to connect with you. I'm always saying yes. What the problem is, though, is that I might connect with somebody, and the first thing they say to me is, hey, do you know any jobs that are good for me? Or, hey, can you refer me to this other person in your network? Or, hey, I saw that there's a job opening here. Can you tell me, can you connect me with the hiring manager? And I'm like, I don't know who you are. Why would I do that? So don't do that. Start slower, build the relationship. Start with softball questions. Ask them a question about them. Like, hey, I noticed that you worked at Fox Sports Northwest, a while back. What was that experience like for you? Or what were some of the biggest challenges you faced? Or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just come up with something to start a dialogue. Then you start liking their post. You start sharing their post. You start reading what they're sharing, getting connected with it and having a comment on it, and start to build a relationship, start to have a presence. Don't ask for things, just start to build a little bit. But here's what happens. Let's say, here's another idea. And this is your zone 3 kind of connections again. Let's say you want to work in the NBA someday and you want to be in operations. Okay. So you think to yourself, all right, I'm going to reach out. I'm going to do some research into people that are operations assistants in the NBA or in the Gatorade League. So you identify somebody, you do some searches on LinkedIn. You find someone that's an operations assistant with the Maine Red Claws. Just pulling stuff out here, okay? They're an operations assistant with the Maine Red Claws. You connect with them and add a note and say, hey, I'm a senior in college. I'd love to work in operations in the NBA someday. That's my ultimate goal. I noticed that you've been working with the Maine Red Claws the last 2 years. Would love to connect and pick your brain someday. Boom, you form a connection. Then you start to have a little bit of a dialogue. You start to ask them some questions. You start to share, like you see something cool that happened with the Maine Red Claws and you share it with them and say, wow, this is awesome. So congratulations to you guys, some attendance record or whatever it may be. So you start to build that conversation. Fast forward a couple months now, and you see a job open with the Long Island Nets, another team in the Gatorade League. And you ping this person and say, hey, I just noticed this operations job opened. Was curious if you knew anybody over there. Well, now you've built a bit of a relationship. You reached out to somebody in your zone 3, you connected with them, you built that bit of a connection and a relationship. And next thing you know, when a job opening pops open, since you have built a relationship, you can ask now, right? You can say like, hey, do you know anybody over there? Not can you call them and tell them I'm on my way. Like, do you know anybody over there that maybe you can connect me with? Just something easy for them. So build the relationship, think in that manner and try to put yourself in their shoes. What do you think you would want if somebody was reaching out to you and trying to build a connection? Do you want them to just come right out and ask you for like, hey, why don't you do this for me? Or do you think it would be better if they kind of slow played a little bit, had a little bit of a conversation, maybe buy me a dinner? I'm kidding. You don't have to buy me a dinner. Send me a t-shirt. I don't know. It's the right way to do it. Okay. You're going to find you start to get this really powerful network. I mean, I literally feel like I can talk to thousands of people in my LinkedIn network and have an active and interesting conversation or get connected to people that matter. I've said it 1,000 times with guests of mine from the podcast. Once I connect with them afterwards, then when I see, hey, there's this other person that works for your team or that you're connected with, any chance you guys can help me introduce this and tell them that you had fun on the podcast. It's happened multiple times. You have to be creative in how you leverage these conversations. Next thing you want to do, build your personal brand. Okay. LinkedIn is the platform. Like I was telling you, this is where the influencers are. This is where the people are that matter and the decision makers. When you are on a place like LinkedIn and you start sharing interesting articles, or you start commenting intelligently on other people's articles, or you start sharing other people's articles, or you write your own article on and publish it on LinkedIn because they have their own publishing platform, or you share a video or whatever it is, you know what happens? People check you out. I do this daily, and I know thousands of other people that do as well. If I see something interesting and it's on my feed or somebody else that I know shared it from you, I check that person. I go look at them. And I'm like, all right, this person's up to some good stuff. I like what they're saying. It's an opportunity for you to become a thought leader, to publish your ideas, to share interesting commentary. This is really important for you to start to build yourself up into more than just a two-dimensional sheet of paper on your resume. Start to be active in this attempts at personal branding. It's very important. Next one. And the last one, so start getting your questions ready because we're going to start getting into your fan questions. Stay up with industry news. Okay, so for a long time, this is going to sound pathetic. I'm just being honest, though. For a long time, I actually kind of used Facebook as like my news aggregator. I followed things that were interesting to me, and then my news feed would be interesting stories that related to my interests, right? Interesting stories, my interests. But it got too inundated with the other stuff and too many advertisements and too many everything else. So I started to curate LinkedIn in that way. Every person that I follow or that I'm connected to, when they share things, it comes up on my news feed. And since I've personally decided I'm only going to connect with people that have something in a sports related sense in their bio, where they've added a note explaining why we should connect, all the people that I'm connected with and are sharing information out there, I am seeing the news that they're sharing. I'm seeing things happening with the Daytona Tortugas or the Tampa Bay Lightning or the Seattle Mariners, or I'm seeing things that are happening in the Canadian Football League. I'm seeing things from conferences. This is where I'm getting my industry news. It's like my living trade magazine, right? Rather than getting the Sports Business Journal once a month, I'm getting it every day that I start to go down my feed. It's become an obsession for me because I'm really spending a lot of time there, keeping up on everything happening in the industry. And I will like things and I will share things and I will be active out there. And you know what? People start coming to me because I know the information, because I'm tied into it. And that is a very important part. Using the platform to be this platform in order to get your information and stay ahead of the curve. You don't want to be falling behind. You want to keep up on all the things that are happening. Gary, I'm going to share this. I've met several contacts as well and have 2 LinkedIn interviews next week, besides connecting with your weekly podcast guests. See? What am I talking about here? Preaching to the choir, my man Gary. Okay, the point I'm stuck at, the networking, 2 more weeks of basketball season. Right, it's tough when you're busy. I want to make this really clear too, and I'm going to cough for a quick second. Sorry. I'm still coming back from my cold. That's why I have the vodka, the risky. So networking, and I want to make this really super clear again too. It's not a quantity game. It is not how many people you're connected with. I know I said I have 7,000 connections in there. That was just to share an example. What you really want to have is the right number of people that you can stay connected with and build that relationship with. If that's 20, great. Make them the right people, right? I love the filtering that you can do on LinkedIn. This is where you become a power user. You need to look and play along. Just play around with it. In the filters on near the top bar where you can search names and things like that, play around with some of those filters and start to get back the results. You can say, I want a second connection located in the Northeast in the sports industry for less than 5 years. And it will come back with, there's your list, right? I do it all the time. I will target by team. I will go in there and say, I keep saying the New York Mets. I don't know why they're on my mind tonight. I will go in there and put in New York Mets and hit return, and it will come back with a list of everybody that works for the New York Mets. And I'll be like, okay, I'm going to request to this person and I'm going to request this person to be on the podcast. Well, you could take it from a different perspective. If you have a different goal in mind, I'm going to connect with this person because they work in operations and I want to someday work in operations. Make it a quality game. Really target the people that you want to connect with and that you can start to build a rapport with. I'm going to take Becky's comments off now because it's been there for long enough. I also cannot stress, okay, everybody, connect with Robert on LinkedIn, or Robert will connect with you. Excuse me again. My first LinkedIn connection came from a friend invite in a band from 20-ish years ago. All right, hey, whatever works, right? It's got to start somewhere. See, and Gary says, hey, let's connect. And do what Brian says. I like Gary. Gary's my boy. Randy, you feel like you're way behind. You know what? You're not. All the information is out there. I'm sharing it all the time, every week. You're going to ask questions in about 2 more minutes, and I'm going to answer as many as I can from you. Okay. So just hold on. You're not going anywhere. Okay. First, O's Fans Fest and connect with a peer I talked to at the event. See, there you go. Kevin, I did this exact thing with a NASCAR track sales executive, ended up meeting with her twice and got a ride along the track. We text daily now, keep you posted. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. It's such a powerful tool in order to, today is the best day to start. I just started my search only a few months ago. Perfect. This is great. Okay. I'm going to, all right, I'm going to share one more. Stand by. I will come. Oh, sorry. I'm falling behind. Okay, there it is. Oh no. I will answer this though. Robert, should you pay for LinkedIn or is a free version good enough? I think the free version is good enough. And then I saw one comment that I wanted to make. Oh yeah, I forget. I'll find it eventually. All right. So there was losing my mind. Gregory. Hey, Gregory. A great tool is to research the front office of a team, and you can target on LinkedIn from there. Pretty much every team has a detailed list from all departments. It's very true. These are all good tips, and it's very important for you guys to be active on LinkedIn. I think I've kind of summarized it all. We can continue that going in the conversation if we want to. There's a lot I think you can continue talking about on LinkedIn and the power of it. I got to hide current comment. There it is. Too many buttons. Gosh, need a better mouse too. There's so much you can do there. And the more that you do it and the more comfortable you get with it, the more you're going to become more of a power user. And that's a really important thing to keep in mind. Let's finish up with that part. And let's get, are you ready? It's that time. It's time for your questions. This is one of my favorite parts. What generally tends to happen is I open it up for all of you to ask your questions, and I'm looking all over the place because I'm trying to read your questions kind of quickly. I will tell you, you've noticed that I'm pushing up your comments. Hey, Jake. I'm pushing up your comments so that you can see them on the screen, which is fun. It's great. I want you guys to see what the conversation is like. If you write a comment that's too large, it covers up the entire screen. So try to keep your questions concise. It just makes my job that much easier to try to kind of, go back and forth on all this. Because I want to, oh, here's a perfect example. Theodore, I'm loving the fact you're sharing a question, but here's what happens. Boom, I'm gone. And I can't read that really fast and try to respond to you. So try to keep all the questions kind of condensed so that I can really hammer it down on you and try to give you a good answer. I'll reset a little bit here too as well. I'm sorry if I'm a little bit scattered tonight. I have a lot I want to say, but I'm also still battling a little bit. I'm still a little bit under the weather. So I'm not to, I mean, the show must go on, and it didn't last week. So I apologize for that. But there's moments where I'm feeling it a little bit. So if I'm a little bit more scatterbrained tonight, I apologize. But if you couldn't get that vibe, I really love the power of LinkedIn. And it's a tool that you need to use. If you have more questions in that regard, please feel free to ask them, because we can continue that part of the conversation. But really what I want to do now is I want to open it up to all of you. Whatever that question may be that you have about your career, it can be specific to you. It can be more broad about something you've just not been sure about. Whatever you want to talk about, we can do it. I am the director of content for workinsports.com. My name is Brian Clapp. As you come into the group, I would love it if you would share where you're listening from, your name, a little bit about you, because it allows me to get to know you guys a little bit better. We have a lot of people that come back every week for these sessions. We do them every Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, unless I am sick or my daughter has a play. Which shouldn't happen, but it did happen once. And I have a family. There's going to be conflict sometimes, but I do my best. I do my best to be here as often as I can. We go for about an hour. I started this out thinking, I'll go for half an hour. It'll be nothing. I'll do 15 minutes of kind of a talk time, and then I'll go 15 minutes of answering questions. And you know what? Every time it's just gone forever. And I love that. I want to have these conversations. So please know I am here to answer all these kind of questions. I did a session. Gregory, welcome back. Missed you last week. Thank you. Okay, let's get into this question. Do you think it's a bad idea to turn down a job if you feel it may not be the best fit, but want to keep possibility of another job with that team? Okay. This is a really great question. And actually, guess who agrees? Ryan Martin. He might have been responding to a different question, but we're going to get there. Gregory, so turning down a job. It is never a bad idea to turn down a job that you do not think you are the right fit for, because that's not going to work out well either. You're not going to put your all into it. You're not going to give them the vibe that you are the right person. It's not going to end up playing well. If I'm assuming you got offered the job. If it's not the right fit, don't feel obligated to take it. There is definitely going to be a question of how viable does that make me feel the next go round, or how serious do they think I will be? being Josh McDaniels, there's a perfect example, right? For the Patriots, he left to go to the Colts and then said, maybe not. But I will tell you, there's a mistake that comes if you take the job that isn't the right fit. Now, my question would be, did you apply to the job that wasn't the right fit? Because I think everybody needs to be selective in the jobs they apply for. Don't put your name in the hat if you're not serious about the opportunity. Know that beforehand, because you have boxed yourself into a bit of a corner. If you went down the road and found out that it's not the right job for you, that's another story. And you have to be okay saying no. You also have to be okay with the fact that it may hurt your chances. It may hurt you for another role down the line. If you think you can take the job, do it to the best of your ability, and there's upward mobility from there within this team and this organization that you want to be with, then take it, right? Suck it up, get in there, work your tail off. I don't care if it's the right fit or not. You're looking for 3 to 5 years down the line in your future. If this is a team you want to work with or an organization you want to work with, and the opportunity right there isn't perfect, but you can get in there and prove yourself and work your butt off and get there, I think it's totally worth it to suck it up for a little bit and get in there, because you do run the risk. If you say, you know what, I'm going to pass, I don't think this is the right job, well, they might not take you seriously the next time around. So again, to reiterate, if this is an organization you really want to be with, getting in the door is actually really powerful, because I'll make this quick because I know there's more questions coming down, but here's a lot of what happens when you are in with a company. Let's say I'm the hiring manager and I'm looking to hire a new role. Half the time I want to promote somebody from within when I have a job opening, and the other half the time I want to bring somebody else in from the outside. Now, I want to promote people from within or from the department, another department or whatever, because it sends a message to everyone in the building that you can grow here. It sends a great vibe to everyone. But sometimes I want to hire from outside the organization because I want to have fresh ideas, new thoughts, maybe bringing a different experience from another organization. The reason I bring this up is because if you're in the building and you're doing it and you're crushing it, and even if the job isn't the perfect fit, if you're in there and you're crushing it, there's a better chance that when the next opportunity opens up, they're going to look at you and say, you're a proven commodity because I know you can perform, and you are a good message to everyone out there that already works in this company. It's a good message to say, here's somebody that's worked hard and they're getting an opportunity. It sends the right message. So my advice is, if you can, do it. Okay, Randy, would delivering food to a former Colts GM and having a short conversation with him, if it's Ryan Grigson, I'd say be careful because he might bark at you. But if to a former Colts GM and having a short convo with him help a possible connection, yeah, start a dialogue. I very much believe in the power of positive conversation. And I know that sounds like I'm being a hippie, but what I mean is, if you interact with somebody and start to have an intelligent dialogue with them, now don't come right out and say something like, I'm a big sports fan, like try to be a little more chill than that, a little more subtle. Ask him a question about a challenge he faced, or, just try to have a good conversation with him. Not pushing him on any of his draft choices, or why did you sign that guy? What did you do that for? Or anything like that. Try to have a meaningful conversation with him slowly over time. Also understanding that you have to read the body language, because if you're delivering food and there's an opportunity there and it starts to seem like he is engaging with you in the right way, keep going. If he seems to be like, yeah, just, give me, if he's giving you some signs, listen to them and back away. But I do think it's a good opportunity. I think every opportunity. Okay, I'll give you a quick story. Zach Gross, who's a member of our Work at Sports podcast group. He's an aspiring agent. He is a great, intelligent go-getter, and he's got his master's, and he's really trying to cut in as being a sports agent. And he's very natural and comfortable in networking, right? So he recently was at an event, and he saw Justin Tuck was there, and he's like, I'm going to go talk to him. And then like 2 weeks later, and he has a great conversation with Justin Tuck. He asked him like, hey, in the agents that you've worked with over your career, what made some good and some bad, or something like that? And it's like, wow, great question. And Justin Tuck started to interact with him. Awesome. Now he's got Justin Tuck in his network. Then like 2 weeks later, he's like, hey, I was at the gym and there's Steve Spagnuolo. So I go up and talk to him. I'm like, dude, how does this happen to you? But anyway, he did it. He had those conversations and it can work. So Randy, take advantage of those moments. I say, you only get so many shots. You might as well shoot your shot. Robert, B. Clapp. Should you apply for an internship if you're unable to complete all the job requirements due to health situation? I believe I could do all but the travel part of the internship. I think it's a viable part of the conversation. Requirements are a dream list if it's skills requirements. But certain things like travel may be a like must-have requirement. I don't know enough about the role. I'd say be straight. I say apply for it 100%. Explain a little bit in your cover letter. Not sappy, not sob story, not feel bad for me. More of an explanation, stating a fact, right? And saying like, I fit what you need for this role. I do have some restrictions based on travel due to some health, health situations. Be honest and transparent. You don't want to spring that on somebody later. Have that conversation up front. But at the same time, I think go for it. I do. I think go for it. Ryan Martin, love all these Patriots references. I'm going to drop a lot of them. I could talk about James Devlin and Rob Gronkowski all day. Okay. I'm focused on baseball play-by-play. Glenn, hi. Good to see you again. At 55 years old, should I apply for a Major League Baseball team not in play-by-play? Yes. And I actually think you might have wanted to say minor league baseball team or an M baseball team. I would say yes. Okay. If this is your dream, you still might need to take a couple steps to get there. And in the minors, especially, you're going to get a chance to do a lot of different things. You're going to be thrown into a lot of different roles. So if you got in the sales department or an internship or any of the roles that they have that could be open, let it be known that you have an interest in play-by-play. There might be an opportunity to get in there and shadow in the press box or get to know the people that are doing the play-by-play for your team and have more of a dialogue with them and get an opportunity maybe to do a little bit here and there. So I think minors are always a good opportunity. I did, but it wasn't clear from the description. Okay, so you're talking about fit again. Looks like the screen is digitizing a little bit, but that's a Facebook thing, and I'm sorry about that. Makes my face look like I'm going to do the robot, but hopefully that'll come back. It's a bandwidth of Facebook. I looked into it before because it annoys me, but we'll just let that roll. Glenn, I just answered yours. Gregory, thanks, Brian. Great advice. Thank you. I appreciate the good question. Theodore. Trying to look at your picture. Looks like you're a soccer player. Man after my own heart. Oh, camera went out of focus. All right. Is it possible to obtain quality marketing jobs in college and professional sports without a master's degree? Great question. College sports? No. Okay. Colleges want you to eat their own dog food. Is that the saying? I got that backwards. Doesn't matter. Okay. Colleges, when you work in college athletics, they want you to have a master's because it kind of proves their own proof of concept, right? It's like, oh no, you need to get a master's to do this job because we sell master's degrees and we want to promote our own industry. So yes, often for college sports, you're going to need your master's. Professional sports, agencies, no, you don't. Okay. You don't need it. I'm saying it can help. It's not a bad thing to have, but you do not need it. So you can get quality marketing jobs. And what I'm telling you, this is just the straight truth. Get that first job, marketing coordinator, wherever, doesn't matter. Minor league teams, professional teams, agencies, get in at Octagon, wherever it is. Okay. Get in there, work your butt off, build a reputation, make connections. The next thing you know, nobody's even looking at your degrees anymore. Okay. Do you think anybody looks at my degrees anymore? I've been in this, I worked at CNN for 7 years, right? After that, and that was my first job right out of college. I worked at CNN Sports Illustrated, covering sports every day. After I had that on my resume, do you think anybody looked at my GPA anymore? Or I was a proven commodity. I knew what I was doing. I had proof that I could do the job. Do you think anybody said, yeah, but he doesn't have his master's? No. So my recommendation to everyone is, listen, if it's important to you to get your master's, go for it. There's nothing wrong with a master's, okay? It's not going to help for every job. If you want to work in college sports, yes, go for it. If you want to be in research, there's certain roles that master's makes a lot of sense. But if it's not, get in and start working. Get into the minor league team, get in with the majors team, get in there and start working, proving yourself, building your reputation, and then it all goes from there, okay? So do not feel like you need to have a master's. You can get good marketing jobs. Creativity matters a lot, especially in marketing jobs. Randy, it was, and he was very friendly. Oh, it was Ryan Grigson. He's friendly, huh? I've heard stories. Pretty big dude, though. We actually talked about the luck draft, one that he couldn't mess up. Yeah, because he pretty much messed up every other one. And he hasn't learned that when it's cold outside, the air pressure in objects goes down. Like my tires. Last week when it was 5 below here in Pennsylvania, I went out and I had to put air in my tires. Go figure. It's called physics. Take your deflate gate and shove it. Okay, Ryan Grigson, you can tell him that. Maybe that's the conversation you can start. Just go up and say, you know what? No, don't do that. Okay, Gabby, how does a person right out of college with a degree in I hate this word. Kinesiology? Can't say this word. Get started in the field and find a job. What advice do you have? So obviously I can't pronounce the word. Kinesiology. I think that's right. Next time I got to say it a little faster. I am going to be completely 100% honest here. I have a lot of experience in the sports industry, and I've interviewed thousands of people in the industry, and I don't know much about kinesiology. I'm sorry. I am at a bit of a loss, but you know what I'm going to do? Here's my promise to you, Gabby. I have contacts in this industry. I have friends in this industry. I'm going to talk to them, and you and I will have this discussion again, okay? Because I want to help you. It's just, I got to be honest. I'm going to be transparent. I'm never going to fake it. I'm never going to lie here to all of you guys. If there's something I don't know, I'm just going to admit it. Okay. So kinesiology, I did it again. I pronounced it right. Yes. Not my strong point. So let's talk about it later. Okay. Glenn, we'll get to that. Randy has another good question, so let's do it. Will jobs outside of sports that dominate my resume hurt me when it comes to getting into the business? No. Okay, let's talk about this real quick. Employers are looking for skills, and the sports industry is just another big business, unless you are trying to do something super sports specific, like scouting or play-by-play or an athletic trainer, for example. If those are super sports specific, right? You need to have those exact experiences. But most of the industry, you can draw parallel lines to just about any job in any industry. So your job now is to leverage the skills and learn how your skills, the ones that you have from other jobs, line up with what's needed in the sports industry. Find those things out, find out those commonalities. I will tell you, and I've said this 1,000 times before, I have talked with hundreds of hiring managers in the sports industry, and a lot of them say, I love to hire people from outside of sports. I'm not saying they like to do it every time, excuse me, but they like to hire people from outside of sports because it does bring in a different perspective. And so there's nothing wrong with having, I'm a mess. I'm hiccuping, I'm coughing. What's wrong with me? It's like amateur hour here. I think I need another sip of water, and I'm turning red. I look like Santa. I'm a mess. Okay. So my point is, get back on track here. Jobs outside of sports on your resume will not hurt you. Try to get some sports experience, volunteer at some events, look for those annual events like golf, tennis tournaments, road races, Pro Bowls, Super Bowls. They are always looking for volunteers. Get some sports stuff on your resume. That'll help. But then really figure out how to draw connections between your skills you've acquired from other jobs because you have them, whether it's in sales or whatever it is. Try to figure out how they apply to the sports industry. Jennifer, I hope you guys know that I am not previewing any of these questions. So if I had, maybe I would have skipped Gabby's and not looked like an idiot. Just kidding. I'm kidding, Gabby. Can you discuss appeared in search that comes up in notifications as how it works? Appeared in search. Jennifer, I'm not sure I know what you mean. Can you are we talking about LinkedIn? There's appeared in search that comes up in notifications as how it works. we'll have a conversation about that. I'm not sure exactly. So, all right, here we go, Jeff. He's got his, since you're a Pats fan, no kidding. Look at wide receivers, outside wide receivers, like ones that can get down the field fast and aren't addicted to stuff. Andy Isabella, I do like him. UMass. Hunter Renfrow, seen enough of him. Debo Samuel. Okay. Yeah, you're looking at more inside guys, which is always good. And Edelman is 33 years old, but I mean, when you have Hogan and Dorsett on the outside, you need a little bit of help. All right, so we'll go off that, even though I can do this all day, Jeff. Anytime you want to chat. Okay, Jake. Jake brings up a very interesting point. He's also assuming that I have a vision for something, which is a dangerous assumption. Okay, can you talk about the mentorship tab in the Facebook group and your vision, what your vision is for that? So today I get a message. So I manage our Facebook group, our Work in Sports podcast group. It's a private group and Jake's in there. He's a wonderful contributor, even though he went to Florida State. I get a message from Facebook that says they're starting up a new mentorship program and they want us to activate it on our page. And here's how it'll work. And they basically gave me a little paragraph. They said the way it'll basically work is that people can say, I'm interested in mentorship from your group. So we've got 1,200 people in there, something like that. And of those 1,200 people, if they say that they're interested in being part of this mentorship thing, it'll pair you up with someone. And then it will give you a private place to talk and to share. And it will have conversation starters. So it'll say things, it'll have say like, hey, I want you guys, you two that are mentoring each other, that are sharing information and being a sounding board. I want you guys to talk about this today, or I want you to talk about this or that or whatever. So it's a new thing Facebook's rolling out. I'm curious to see their end goal and what this will be like and how it'll work. So I wanted to activate it and let some people play around with it and see how it goes. I try very hard to answer every question in the group and give my own spin on it. Sometimes I miss some stuff, but I also love it when everybody helps each other. So I wanted to kind of open that up a little bit too. Oh, Jake loves Debo. Hunter Renfrow is a perfect fit with the New England mold, but Debo was awesome at USC. It's true. He was. I did say, oh, good. Gabby, thanks. Look forward to the convo. You did say it correctly. On my 5th try. Kinesiology. There we go. Yes. It's twice in a row. Okay. How to land a job if you haven't worked in 3 years. How much will that hurt me if I finished my degree 2 years ago? Okay. So, Robert, a couple things. You're going to need to be ready to discuss that. Okay. Because that's going to come up when you have interviews, whether they're on the phone or on video or anything like that. You need to have your mental script ready for how you're going to describe the gap. What I would say is start trying to get things to fill it in any way you can. Okay. Volunteer, do part-time work, do guest blogging on sites, any way you can to start to have things filling in that gap and to be an active contributor or whatever it may be so that you start to have something on there. Because, yeah, people are going to start to see it and be like, okay, this guy hasn't worked in a while. Is he still going to be fresh and motivated and ready to go? But this is life, right? This is life. We all get setbacks. My recommendation to everyone, not just you, is that I've never done it. I have not worked in sales, but sales jobs are the most prominent in the industry, and they can be a great stepping stone because you've proven that you can generate revenue. They're not a fit for everybody, but it's a good way to try out something that can get you some really good connections and build you up in the network and teach you some skills that are applicable just about anywhere. Jennifer, following up. Okay, a lot of minor league baseball teams are hiring for seasonal staff now, which is great experience networking. Very true. I talked about this last Facebook Live session, and something to keep in mind is or maybe it was on a podcast. It doesn't matter. It's information. It's out there somewhere on the internet. It has my name attached to it, so it was brilliant. No, my point is there's a rhythm almost to every sport of when the opportunities are coming up. And I generally, yes, they hire throughout the year because they're going to have people come and go and they're going to lose people and need to fill them back in. And that happens. But there's also a bit of a rhythm to season ends. And then for the next couple of weeks, people kind of breathe, exhale, take some time off, whatever it may be, because every season, a long season. And then things pick up with filling in for the next year, building their strategy and their plans and their budgets and all that kind of thing. And then starting to look for, okay, next season, we're going to need these roles, or we're going to replace this person, or we're going to backfill these roles. So there's a rhythm of about a month after the end of each season where teams are starting to get more active in hiring seasonal roles, et cetera. Like Jennifer was bringing up. So you will see opportunities arising for baseball is very active right now. And then we'll have a rhythm to football coming up pretty soon. And then we'll start to have, basketball and NBA coming in. And then there's all the colleges will start to be, hiring. A lot of their internships get filled in July. So there's always a kind of a seasonal rhythm, to where the opportunities are. And when you study our site, you can start to see that a lot too. Gary, one of my interviews with the Frisco Rough Riders. So I have a feeling somebody connected with Melanie Newman, a guest on our show, who's a broadcaster for the Frisco Rough Riders. Nice job, Gary, leveraging those connections. Jake, I'm going to put this up for a really quick blink, and it's gone. I hope you saw it. Okay, Randy, very active tonight. I'm enjoying you, Randy. Will coaching help in other areas in sports, operations, talent evaluations, etc.? Coaching, it depends on what we're talking about. If you're coaching like I coach my daughter's soccer team and she's at 11, it's not going to really help me much on anybody much on their resume. But if you're involved on a higher level, like a high school offensive coordinator, or you're in there on doing it on a different level, leverage the skills that brings to the table. So leadership, teamwork, discipline. Those are the kind of keywords you want to start to throw out there, because when people hire you, they are looking for those soft skills. They are looking for those things of what you can do here on a tangible skill, on a hard skill, but also on those soft skills. So yeah, it can absolutely help you. Just know that you need to know how to leverage it. And talent evaluations for sure. Yeah, those can all help. Gallon jug of water. See? Not quite a gallon. It's pretty big though. I did a session. This will probably make Jake upset, but I did a session at the University of Florida a couple of weeks ago, and I chugged like 3 of those because you're talking for a long time in front of a group of like 400, and there's lots of questions coming in. It's all going fast, and I'm like, whoa, I went through a lot. Okay, Jeff. Randy, to your question, Jeff says, it does help. I spent almost 2 decades coaching. It was an easy transition into scouting. There you go. Proof of concept, right? And good luck, Gary. All right. B Clap, ever been to Pittsburgh? If so, what for? Actually, I have family just across the border in Ohio, in Mingo Junction, Ohio. So we were out for a reunion 2 years ago. And we went into Pittsburgh, went to Three Rivers, not Three Rivers, Heinz. Sorry, I'm old. Did the whole, what's it called? The escalator thing on the side of the hill there, thingamajigger. Also, my best friend, Dave Close from CNN Sports Illustrated. He's still at CNN. He went to Shady Side Academy outside of Pittsburgh. So he's been trying to get me to go up there a long time. Randy, high school basketball. Great. Leverage that. You're a leader of young men. You helping with discipline and teamwork and structure and practice. And think about those skills when you tell your story, in your cover letter, or even as part of your resume. Think about all those skills that I just talked about and even more. Jake, you make me laugh. Think about all those skills. I'll put it up in a second so everybody else can see too. But think about all those skills. Really brainstorm someday about like the skills that you actually get from being a coach, and write them all down and have them, and then try to tell your story. Excuse me, because jobs look for that kind of stuff. They want to have leaders. And I tell this to a lot of people like Jake who have a military background. When you were in the military, you are learning a really extreme, mature decision-making, leadership, teamwork, discipline. Again, I loved hiring. I've hired people with military backgrounds, and I know a lot of other people that have too, because when you're hiring, there's this fear of hiring the wrong person. They're going to be immature. They're not going to live into the culture. They're not going to do the job or follow through on tasks. There's always this nervousness when you bring somebody new into your organization. But if you bring in somebody from a military background that's not 100%, I realize that, they tend to be more mature. They tend to be better at following direction. There's a lot of skills that come out of that. So my point is, when you're hiring, and I have for a long time, when you're hiring, you look for those traits in people. And if you're a coach, and it doesn't matter what your record is, but if you have a sterling reputation, that can really be an asset in the way you position yourself. So don't be nervous to do that. Okay, here's the Jake comment as a FSU guy. UF needs all the help they can get. I'm glad you're out doing community service and helping the less fortunate. Oh, Jake. That's funny. Okay, the incline up Mount Washington, best view of Pittsburgh. Yes, it was really cool. It was a good time. I enjoyed that. All right, we are at 8:30, which means Jake gets the last say. I'm going to leave it up on the screen. Actually, I shouldn't. The professors at University of Florida are very nice to me, and they've had me in their class many times, and I should be speaking to them with reverence rather than letting Jake slander them. So I'm going to take Jake's comments off. All right, Jennifer made another comment, so I'm going to. This is. I can't stop myself. Okay. How important is offering the connection versus asking for something? I know this seems vital. Okay. So talking about LinkedIn, your job when you're trying to connect with somebody is to figure out that thread that connects you. Why? Answer that why question as if you're the other person. Why should I say yes to this connection? Okay. If you make your case in that little add a note section, that really matters. And I do this every time. I'll say, hey, I was at this conference and I heard you speak. I really enjoyed hearing from you. Have a follow-up question, or loved when you talked about this, or some sort of a thing to get them to realize, oh, all right, this is a professional person that I don't mind connecting with. Having that thread, if it's even, I mentioned this story earlier, but like, let's say you wanted to work in scouting and you connected with somebody with the Diamondbacks and said, hey, I'm a college junior. I would love to be a scout someday. Would love to connect with you and ask you a few questions. People tend to respond really well to that because they don't mind helping if you are serious and connected to what their interests are. It's a positive thing, right? Like, I love it when somebody says, hey, I want to work in the sports media. Can I ask you a couple questions? Like, yeah, that's my background. That's what I've done. Or somebody says, hey, I listened to your Facebook Live and I had a follow-up question. Can we connect? Yeah, of course. So, Jennifer, those sort of follow-ups and the way you make that connection is really, really important. Kevin, you might have already said goodbye, but I'll say it to you. Thanks as always, buddy. See you next week. Kevin, good to have you here always. Jennifer, thanks again. Great live this week. Glad you're feeling better. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate all you guys being here. Again, I am Brian Clapp. I'm the director of content for workinsports.com. I do this every Thursday night on the Facebook Live, on the Work in Sports Facebook Live page. Randy, good to have you here, man. Great questions. I'm glad that we had this interaction. Appreciate the knowledge. We'll definitely tune in more often. I also want to let you all know that are still listening, we do have the Work in Sports podcast, which I suggest you subscribe to. We publish 2 podcasts a week. They're great. I'm the host, and I shouldn't say that they're great because it sounds like I'm bragging, but I really am proud of the product. We put a lot of effort into it, and we have great guests, from Lee Steinberg to scouts to GMs to just about everything. I'm going to cough. Sorry. I apologize. Still battling a little bit. But we have all this great content that I want you guys to be a part of. Join us on the Facebook Working for Sports Facebook page. Follow me on LinkedIn. Connect with me there. I'm obviously open to it. And then we have all kinds of resources out there for you. We have a YouTube channel. We got everything. So make sure you connect with us on all the different platforms. I love interacting with all of you. So definitely make sure you come back next week and let's continue this conversation all the darn time. Gary, thanks to Brian and the team. I'm on LinkedIn, so let's network. Yes, everybody connect with Gary. I agree. That's a good idea. Robert, you should do 2 Facebook, 2 live. Well, I'm looking at that thing in 2 live crew, 2 Facebook Live a week. Whew. Jeff, thanks again for the guidance. Have a great evening. P-Clap, you rock. Guys, I really appreciate it. You make my day. I enjoy doing this with you. Thanks again, Brian. Can't wait to listen next week, where I believe the Patriots will still be Super Bowl champions. Ryan, I love you, man. You're awesome. Let's talk Patriots anytime you want. Dana, thanks for tuning in tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. I know this was your first time coming to the live. Hope you learned something. Hope you have questions lined up for next week, because I'll be here again next week, and I hope you guys come too. Thanks again, everyone. I appreciate you being here.